Learning spaces allows us as teachers to consider how a variety of factors can affect teaching and learning environments in the present as well as in the future. It's imperative to explore and understand the different learning spaces so that there's a greater awareness that these are not just bricks and mortar, not just light-filled windows and aesthetically displayed posters. This is even more so in the 21st century, where technology plays such a key role in learning spaces. As teachers, we need to strive to develop professional understanding in all learning spaces so that our design and decision-making for a 21st century classroom is productive and resourceful. And whatever space we are referring to, the purpose for each will be dependent on the child, the curriculum, the pedagogy and the professional development of the teacher within that learning space. The classroom and school perimeter is a key example of learning spaces. For many children and teachers, time spent in this physical space is longer than that spent at home, and thus it's important that it is conducive to learning and teaching. As Marilyn Reed showed in her 2010 research, young people understand and appreciate the aesthetics of their environment, yet principles of design are often determined by teachers with little consultation with the students. But research shows that students are informed and aware of shape, form and colours in the classroom environment. They are also aware of aspects of low and high visual stimulation, where the shapes in the environment and displayed stimulation on the walls were key components. There is also the factor of where a child sits in the classroom. And even though such things as colour and furniture are important, it is also the place where the child sits in the class which affects their learning. Whether it teacher-centred or student-centred, it was ultimately the teacher's role to increase academic achievement of all the students by determining appropriate choice of seating. Whether the classroom and school environment is traditional, with rows of seats in a teacher-centred environment, or interactive through 21st century technology, this learning space is an immediate environment to influence children's learning and classroom teaching. Beyond the classroom for many students is a place of discovery and exploration, whether it be an excursion, an incursion, or even a community of practice. It is learning in a situation, a content where students and teachers can experience, engage and reflect. According to Lav and Wenya, students will absorb more information when it's delivered in a way that is fresh and that it is contextually relevant to them. Perhaps as teachers we need to tune more into the students' learning desires. What is it that they want to learn about? And then provide them with the tools, for example the computer-based PLNs, to access these favourite places beyond the classroom, the art gallery, the war memorial, the botanical gardens. And then we might see that, as Carl Rogers puts it, learning is enhanced when these students are fully involved in the learning process. When a student wants to know about the next shuttle launch, introducing them to a relevant PLN outside the normal classroom would allow them to visit, to ask questions, to discuss, and most importantly, to learn. The electronic learning space is ever-changing, a space that is evolving daily to the commands of an electronic and technological world. Our students are becoming highly equipped to interact with a global community through tools such as iPads, tablets, mobile phones, interactive whiteboards and other learning devices. For some, their learning environments are fully equipped with high ratio of technology to students. Even in developed countries where over 70% of the world's mobile subscriptions come, as outlined by UNESCO, the electronic learning space is exploding. Students are able to access their content and knowledge in an instant. They are able to receive interactive support and communication. Their fall comes in the use of these tools and whether they are presented to the students in an effective, highly outcome-based way. Our teachers, many of whom are reluctant to use this technology for personal reasons, which may include lack of professional development in the area, results in unsuccessful classroom practices. The interactive whiteboard becomes an overpriced monitor. The iPad banks become babysitters. But with extensive professional development for our teachers, the lessons provided for our students could be boundless. The communities that they interact with would become accessible, and the content of their learning could become more personal, desirable, and beneficial. Electronic learning spaces are making what was impossible in teaching content a reachable and fruitful goal. The individual learning space is all about the learning. Questions such as how is it that an individual learns, what determines it, at what point do they learn, and where does the learning take place? Taxonomy of learning is how we categorise these understandings. Individual learning space places the emphasis on the learner to take control of their process and planning of learning, and therefore the result of their understanding. Self-motivation or self-directed learning is key to individual learners. Alan Tuff quotes, "Learners assume responsibility for planning and directing the course of study." The individual learning space is the arena for this to take place. For teachers, it is vital that students are given the opportunity to engage in their own self-directed learning, that they are supported and guided, but not completely directed. The teacher also assumes the role of informant and learning agitator, frequenting the student's place of learning and asking the questions to engage conversation about learning. In many cases, this is not always possible because of restrictions to curriculum, particularly curriculum content. But if we are going to start to think about learning spaces of the 21st century, then our focus is perhaps needed to shift from the teacher-centred to the student-directed. Curriculum itself, being a learning space, is adaptable, and in the case of the individual learning space, the scope and sequence of many curriculum layouts within the school administration are primarily needed to be flexible in the individual learning space. Without this flexibility, many students will find that they will fall through the gaps because their interests and their urge to learn do not fit within the definition of a rigid and structured curriculum. The group learning space defines several elements, including a major one of curriculum. As Brady and Kennedy defined in 2007, the curriculum provides a blueprint for teaching and learning over an extended period of time. And as teachers, we need to remember that curriculum is not set in stone. Through collaboration with other teachers over a period of time, our group learning space, that is, the curriculum, can remain thoughtful, up-to-date, relevant and resourceful. If teachers could see the curriculum learning space in this manner, our classroom implementation of teaching would also differ, so as to focus on the importance of such things as cooperative and collaborative learning. There is a slight distinction in my view in that cooperative assumes that the task is already set with a determined goal. Collaborative, however, suggests that there is a start, and through deviation with other well-knowledged and determined learners, we are able to control how our learning goes. Our point of learning reference would include others who are able to communicate, share and collaborate ideas. And with the vast array of technologies and its usages, collaborative learning is borderless. The interaction between several students, teachers and others would allow the scope of knowledge and its deliverance to be extended in exponential ways. If this was the case, our classrooms and the lessons within them would become self-motivated, ever-changing, vigorous and purposeful. In the 21st century learning space, it appeared there is no secret ingredient in the perfect design, but an alliance of all the needs of each individual in the class sitting in front of the educator at the start of each school year. And as the year goes on, with all the learning and social interaction that occurs, the design of the classroom needs to remain dynamic, energetic, unpredictable, but most importantly, it needed to remain sustainable. As far as the people of the world have progressed technologically, it is important to remember that it has been at the expense of nature and the Earth's treasures, such as rare earth materials. Learning in the 21st century is two-faced. One face of hope, international collaboration and experiences which will benefit humankind, especially in terms of education and medicine. But the other face of 21st century learning is the drastic effect of mining and refining the earth resources so as to make technology accessible, faster, more adaptable and more widespread. Learning in the 21st century is not just about content of knowledge based on previous content, but curriculum is about how to remain sustainable, how to repay the earth, how to negotiate progression with regression, how to lower the rate of consumerism. Curriculum in the 21st century will need to be about stewardship, international alliance and protecting borders that encapsulate the planet and not just individual country borders. Curriculum will need to be advising human migration from country to country, the effects on the areas of migration and how to prepare for them. 21st century learning space curriculum will be about social justice and equality. People are people, regardless of language, colour of skin. Our classrooms need to be platforms for this conscious acceptance of economic and social support for all human beings. Our classrooms have and always been scale models of the world. Teachers have the opportunity to develop miniature leaders who will define the growth of the world by its ability to grow. Curriculum development within the walls of learning can make our future productive, human, just, economically viable and socially equal. Our 21st century is just 13 years young and still holds a solid 87 years to go. Our learning environments are presently not sustainable, not socially just and equal, and most definitely not able to be maintained at a rate without detrimental effects on humankind and the Earth's resources, which in turn will lead to greater and quicker responses in global warming. According to National Geographic statistics, humankind's footprints take up 83% of the planet already, 87 years to go in this century. We cannot sustain this pace without the repercussions on us all globally. Our students are our hope, but it is their teachers that need to be their models.